Greetings and salutations again, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will be picking up where we left off in chapter 4, with baptisms and weddings. If you haven't already, I highly recommend you listen to the last parts of this series because you're going to be very confused if you're just coming in at chapter 4, part 2 or 3. So I highly recommend you pick up where you left off, or pick up from the beginning, and then get to this point. If you haven't already, I also recommend you like and subscribe if you find yourself enjoying this video. It's free, you can always take it back, and that's enough yapping from me. So here we are, we're picking up at baptisms and weddings. Among the SS itself, baptisms and weddings were carried out following the ceremonies laid down by Himmler. His new Teutonic Knights were indoctrinated with Nazi values at every possible opportunity and through every stage of their life. Race and sex were frequently blended together in Himmler's obsessional fantasies about selective breeding. His pursuit of the chimera of the master race led him to make a huge number of speeches on the subject. One of the more bizarre examples in his address on the 8th of November 1936 to senior one of the more bizarre examples is his address on the 8th of November 1936 to senior SS leaders. In this extraordinary speech, he remarked that a man might feel obligated towards a girl he had been seeking for a few months, but simple affection was not enough to make her a suitable partner. Himmler declared that she might have a brother or uncle who suffered from mental illness. He added, "The SS man may never act without decency. On the contrary, we must say openly, I am sorry, I cannot marry you because there have been many major diseases in your family." Himmler went on to assert that because of the false and stupid views of three centuries, the marriage permission was necessary. Newly married couples were each given a silver beaker. At the birth ceremonies that took the place of baptisms within the SS, and with which Himmler ultimately intended to replace all christenings, the child received a silver tankard and a Lebensband, the life band, which was a large ribbon of blue silk that was wrapped around him or her at the ceremony. His or her name was then entered into the birth book and the family book of the SS. The mother then received a silver spoon. Finally, the birth ring was produced. Ceremonial words were spoken in an act of blessing. The ring and the child was named. The parents and sponsors, Himmler's version of godparents, were instructed to raise the child with a true, brave German heart according to the will of God, the Lebensborn. Himmler's most ambitious attempt to bring together his views on sex and race was the Lebensborn, Fountain of Life project. This was instituted in December 1935 and initially placed under the race office of the SS. It was an organization that originally set out to care for unmarried mothers with pure blood who had been made pregnant by SS men or police officers. The intention was to allow them to give birth in private and either to place the children with an SS family wishing to adopt or put pressure on the father to marry the girl. The first Lebensborn home opened in 1936 at Steinhorring near Munich. It was soon serving other clients besides its intended original base. Before long, aristocratic women went to the home surreptitiously to give birth to unwanted children that were then adopted. SS men also began to use it as a place to conduct affairs with suitably Aryan females, and even wives of SS officers began using it as a maternity home. Both fathers and mothers were subjected to rigorous investigation by the race office and only allowed to enter the Lebensborn program if they fulfilled its strict racial criteria. Himmler became involved in every detail of the organization of the Lebensborn. He placed runic symbols on its stationery, concerned himself with the decoration of the homes, and the diet of the girls. He was particularly keen that the day should begin with porridge, as well as the duration of their confinement. In 1938, he removed the Lebensborn from the control of the race office and took it under his direct supervision. Himmler believed that procreation could no longer be thought of as a matter of private choice, but was instead an activity that needed to be directed and regulated by the state. Pregnancies outside marriage were positively encouraged as both a way of boosting the birth rate and as a means of providing more male children to become future soldiers. In line with this philosophy, the Lebensborn organization looked after unmarried mothers and fostered out illegitimate children. Himmler believed this would radically drive up the birth rate, and to some extent it did. SS officers were compelled to join the Lebensborn organization and support it financially through deductions from their pay. Himmler encouraged his SS disciples to participate in the program, declared that it was their duty as valuable and racially pure men to act as conception assistants and thus become the basis for a new advance of the Germanic race. Adding new layers of bizarre occult fantasy, he announced that babies who were conceived in an Aryan cemetery would be filled with the ancestral spirits of the dead heroes who lay therein, and actually published lists of suitable cemeteries in Das Schwarzkorps, the SS magazine. Girls were positively encouraged to join the Lebensborn program, both through extortion and benefits. They were given financial inducements of 1,000 Reichmarks to become mothers and were also exempted from labor service duty. The slogan, "Present the Führer with a child," was constantly presented to German women as an honorable ideal and a practical way of demonstrating their patriotism and loyalty. Members of the Bund Deutscher Mädel, League of German Girls, were particularly exhorted to join the program. After the conquest of Poland, the Lebensborn program was expanded by kidnapping children of racially suitable Poles. Once the invasion of the USSR began, the same process took place with Soviet children. In these activities, the SS was deeply involved, and it just had turned the original conception of the Lebensborn organization from maternity homes for unmarried mothers into a stud farm. So, too, it became involved in kidnapping and murder to perpetuate Himmler's racial mythology. One second, let me move this on my desk real quick. There we go. Himmler's attitude to religion. It is ironic that the first question asked of an SS candidate was whether or not he believed in God. If he was unwise enough to give a negative answer to his application to join the order, he was refused immediately. As Himmler told a group of farmers in November 1935, "Be assured, one cannot be incorporated between ancestors and children in an according to human ideas, external past, and the for human calculation so long as this star Earth exists, external force of our future of our people. If one does not believe in deepest humility in a godly ruler and a God-given order for man." Okay, I kind of paused very awkwardly there. Well, it's whatever. Himmler tapped into and diverted the religious impulses of these overwhelmingly young and idealistic people. He made them believe they were a knightly order, leading the front line of the crusade for the salvation of Germany. They had a profound sense of purpose, duty, and belonging, which deserved a worthier cause. The SS men gladly sacrificed the burdens of freedom and individuality for the false gods of nation, race, and Nazi ideology. To a greater degree than any other part of the Third Reich's machinery of state, the SS were incapable of independent thought or action. They had been so thoroughly dehumanized, brainwashed, and indoctrinated that they had completely lost any kind of capacity to question, still less to dispute, the things they were taught and those that they eventually were commanded to do. Their inner core of steely determination made it impossible for them to feel any sense of horror or shame at the atrocities so many of them committed. As a typical SS man answered on being questioned by the Allies, "I have no opinion. I obey." One of the questions in the SS Catechism was the following: Q. Why do you obey? Answer. From inner conviction, from belief in Germany, in the Führer, in the movement, and in the SS, and from loyalty. With such a mindset where rigidity, dogmatism, and tunnel vision were enshrined to a degree that made the severest military discipline appear almost liberal, it is no accident that Himmler's new Teutonic Knights became like their medieval precursors, apostles who spread their beliefs through murder and destruction. Himmler's dark neo-pagan visions and occult fantasies led to the mental, emotional, and spiritual corruption of an entire generation. And with that, I will be concluding this chapter. That is the last part in the new Teutonic Knights. We will pick up next time with the Nazi Grail Castle, Chapter 5. If you enjoyed this one, go ahead, feel free to like and subscribe. My apologies for any awkward pauses. Again, I only do these in like one take. I could be using Microsoft Clipchamp, but I really don't feel like it. So, it's whatever. Thank you again for listening, dear viewer. I hope you enjoyed. And, take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.